evening, everybody. Welcome to another Headkicks and Haymakers show. I am Bodkins, and of course, with me is my brother from another mother, Whit. Whit, what is up, my man? How you doing this evening?
Hey, bro. First of all, let me just tell you, Happy New Year, Nick, man. You are like awesome at this. We're doing an awesome show. We got some people watching. Happy New Year's to you guys too, because of course we're lucky and happy to bring you some more MMA, boxing, K1 in 2024, man. We're gonna make this a big one.
Yeah, so it's funny, today, 9 years ago, January 3rd, 2015, John Jones handed Daniel Cormier his first loss of his career. That was kind of the first fight in their epic, rivalry. So it got me thinking, let's look in the past before we look into the future here of 2024. What are some of your favorite MMA rivalries? Because I think DC Jones is got to be kind of on that list. So what's some of yours as, 9 years ago today, they got their first fight in?
I mean, when I think about some really, really good ones, one of the ones that started it all for just UFC in general, we got to think about the Iceman, Chuck Liddell, fighting this long-term homeboy, the bad boy, of course, who eventually the two of them together kind of forged that, like how UFC pay-per-views were going to be, kind of like marketed, you know what I mean? And they kind of, when, even though at first, of course, they were friends coming into, the business together, when they finally got to the point where they didn't like each other, like that's how we got what I would consider like the modern age of, the UFC. So Chuck Liddell, big shouts out to Chuck Liddell. I got another one in my mind.
Chuck Liddell, Tito.
Yeah, so big shout out to Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell. And I'm really thinking about just anybody Anderson Silva fought. Anybody. I don't care who
him and Chael Sonnen, I think you could, that kind of him and Chael P.
Right.
Sonnen,
And Chael Sonnen, especially at one point in time, we see him now, with his podcast, the bad guy and all that good stuff. But Chael Sonnen was a competitor. You know what I'm saying?
And really, if you think of that first matchup, he had Silva dead to rights, would have won until the fifth round, and he got choked out.
Yeah, no, it was one of those ones where, we finally saw a chink in the armor. It really didn't reveal itself again until later on in Anderson Silva's career. But, Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva's another one. When I think about like heavyweight matchups, you know what I'm saying? Of course, anybody can remember, and I'm trying to think of my guy's name, but as I said, I'm seeing it in my head. But that light heavyweight matchup with John Jones and they had the stand up banging like
Alexander Gustafsson.
Yeah, Gustafsson. Yeah. Oh man, that Alexander Gustafsson fight was one of those where you had to, where you were when you watched that one, because we had never seen John Jones take that much damage or somewhat be taken to that deep of waters. But at the same time, we got to see what the heart of a champion looked like. Like John Jones fought through so much adversity in that match, and Gustafsson put on the best performance one of the best performances against a great. And it's hard to compete with that one when you talk about John Jones's resume of just taking guys out. Like Alexander Gustafsson took him there all the way to the very end. So yeah, it's a couple of them. It's some more in there, but those are the ones that stick out to me right now.
Yeah, the ones I think of. So when I think of rivalries, I think of sometimes as to go to the third time. Now I know DC and Jones didn't go to the third time, and also I think of like just two dudes that absolutely hated each other. So the Tito and Chuck fit that bill towards the end. Obviously, they hated each other. I don't know if you ever watched it or get the opportunity to watch. There's a 30-30 documentary about Tito and Chuck and about how they were training partners. And the UFC came and they were like, people wanted to put their money behind Tito Ortiz, and then they saw Chuck, and they're like, "No, that's our guy. That's the guy that we're going to put our money on and get behind." And he would just tear him up, and they hated each other. Chuck became UFC's guy, and Tito hated, him and Dana hated each other. Khabib and Conor, I know we only got one of those, but those, that's rivalry that they still hate each other. They refuse to do anything. I think Conor wants it, but Khabib just refuses to do anything. I think Conor and Nate is a good one. We got, they're a 1-1. It maybe someday we'll get to fight number 3 there. I look at, Alex, day in this day and age, Alex Pierre and Izzy, right? Like, we talked about them quite a bit last week. I look at that right now. You could also say Colby and Jorge, but, they're kind of, they're not really much there. And here's one, it's a lot of mutual respect, but what about, to me, Dustin Poirier? Poirier and Conor, Poirier and Gaethje. It seems like there's mutual respect, but they both been 1-1 now in their rivalries. So I feel like there's a lot of mutual respect there, but more Conor and Poirier you could say, and even DJ and Henry Cejudo, they fought. I think they fought 3 times, and and there's mutual respect now. I don't think they ever was bad blood, but just mutual respect. Where DC and John Jones had, they hated each other.
They hated each other, man.
So they've said some bad, DC said some awful thing, or Jones has said some awful things about DC and this and that, and there's still some beef there. I think even now you can kind of hear it when DC talks about Jones, but he admits that Jones is, the greatest of all time. Right. So it's interesting to see what happens. I mentioned Conor, and we got the Conor news. We do have an opponent. It is going to be Michael Chandler, which we also expected. It will be. We thought maybe it could be at UFC 300. Ariel Helwani reported that Conor wanted UFC 300. But they told him wait, and they're going to do an International Fight Week at the end of June against Michael Chandler. Now Conor said it's at 185, but I'm not buying the 180 the 185 win. Are you?
I think that's more like I bet you can't get to 185 and feel comfortable. Of course, right now, this is one of those things where I've watched enough fights where. Shout out to my wife. I watched enough fights where, and enough of the UFC stuff where when you see Conor McGregor walking around, like he's walking around at 192. Like,
oh yeah, he's big, yeah.
He is jacked. He's not taking no USADA tests, so he can take any supplement he wants. You know what I'm saying? He is jacked right now. But of course, when it comes time for him to, tighten up and everything, he's going to take a few months, cut back on the supplements so they don't show up in testing, and then of course it'll go back. It'll go down to one.
I think it's at 170. I think that's
165, 170 probably.
170. I think they're going to fight at welterweight.
Yeah, just to be healthy, because losing, and everybody who is accustomed to watching the fights. We know that losing that much weight in such a short period of time is really unhealthy. But, fighters do it all the time. But, yeah, right now, heck yeah, Conor McGregor love to fight at 185. Shoot.
I'm not buying it. I mean, you could even tell in the video of Conor, he was kind of laughing. And remember, they had that exchange during Tough Enough. And where he's like, did they tell you what the weight was going to be? He said, or not Tough Enough, but the Ultimate Fighter. I was thinking Tough Enough, so WWE, but the Ultimate Fighter. He said, 185. He said, I'll fight you at 185. And Conor said, you'll do what you're told. And so I think that's kind of, Conor's just kind of recalling that conversation. But Conor laughing, that Dr. Evil laugh after
the glass in his hand at the nice restaurant.
As he's drinking his wine. I don't think it's at 185. There's no way. There seems to be some people buy it into it, but I think Conor's trolling us on that part. Right. But as far as the opponent and the date is set. I do believe it'll be at 170 though.
Yeah, I'm in the mood for it to be right there at 170. That's kind of given, that's an even playing field for, because Michael Chandler, although heavy-handed, although in the division he's I want to say like a wider. He looks. We'll just put it this way: he's not taller than a lot of his opponents, but he looks bigger than a lot of his opponents.
Chandler's stocky. Yeah. He's stocky.
Yeah, there you go. He's a stockier cat. You know what I'm saying? So for him to make that right there around 165, 170, I think that'd be possible for him. And then of course, Conor could probably easily knock down 10 pounds easily.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I definitely think he'll be it'll be at 170, and he's probably he's probably looks like he's every bit of 190, 200 right now.
He's 190.
Let's get into a little bit of 2024 preview here. Who do you think let me ask you, is there a guy right now that you're looking at in any weight class that last year we saw several different champions, Sean Strickland, Alex Pereira, Alexa Grasso, all become champions for the first time. Well, in different weight classes, and then Sean O'Malley, even Alexander Pantoja became we're all new champions this year. Is there a couple people that you're looking at that could become champions this time next year?
The immediate one that jumps out to me, and it's not like I want it to happen, because I like both fighters in this, but in, let's say, February, you got 298, we got Volkanovski, Topuria. Topuria is just right there on the cusp of saying, hey, look, the one false move, you could lose that fight easily. Topuria is good on his feet. He's also got a mean attack game as far as when he wants to put you on the ground and take you down, he can easily do that. But Volkanovski has shown in plenty of his matches that his wrestling is one of his strongest suits. Okay, so it's kind of like a doppelganger match of sorts. Like both of them can stand up, both of them can get on the ground. But I'm thinking, look, if you want to go for that, or who could go, be the champion, easily this could be one of those where you go, hey, look, we gotta run this back if Topuria wins. In my opinion, if it's not like
they're running it back. They're running it back.
If it's not like a sound first round knockout or something, easily I can see that being ran back. And of course, the one that jumps out immediately for anybody who's a fan of fights, and we're really looking forward to this in the middle of the month. Strickland Du Plessis, I don't care. They got to do that twice anyway, just because.
No, they're not doing it twice. They're not doing
it. First of all, they already fought one time in 296. Okay,
yeah.
We already saw that. So but in the ring, I am not taking away what Sean Strickland is good at, but Du Plessis has pretty much put pressure on all of his opponents up until this point, where I don't think they see how strong he is and how good his technique is at what he does. It to me, Sean Strickland, I'm not going to say he won on accident, because he deserves to be there, of course, but Du Plessis has the capability to shut it down immediately if Sean Strickland isn't paying attention. So I definitely got to look towards Du Plessis and Topuria right now as saying, hey, look, they won at the beginning of the year, and that now they're champions in 2024, very early in the early enough to where towards the end of the year they could be doing their first title defenses. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you. So here's I've been reading some reports online, and nothing's granted yet, but I think we're gonna get UFC 300. You're gonna get Leon versus Bilal. And there's rumors that that's when we'll get Izzy. Izzy will get the winner of this DDP versus Sean Strickland fight at 300. And you're exactly right. I think in 2 weeks' time we'll have our first new heavyweight champion of the year, and his name will be Dricus Du Plessis, DDP. I think he beats Sean Strickland, and we'll preview that whole card in 2 weeks' time. But we're just 2 weeks away from that fight, and I think he wins. There's a guy right there. I am torn on the Volk and Ilya, so I'm not going to say that one. But another guy, I've been very high on is my guy Shavkat Rakhmonov. I think he's going to be by the end of the year he'll be welterweight champion. I think if to me I've laid out this scenario. If it is Leon and Bilal at UFC 300, that's in April. Leon has said he wants to fight again in the summertime in London. You do that fight sometime between now and then. Shavkat gets one in, whether it's Usman versus or it's Burns. Or I think Burns has got to fight. Maybe
I think Burns has got to fight somebody.
I think so. I think you're right. He's got a fight booked, I think. But let me look at the welterweights here. So Shavkat is 3. So he needs really one more. Maybe do him and Colby.
We were saying last week, hey, look, and this is absolutely
he does got to fight. Burns has got Jack Della Mella coming up in March.
Okay.
At UFC 299. But get Shavkat one more before the summertime. He wins that fight. You do him and Leon in the summer. Shavkat wins the welterweight champion, and that's kind of like my big, a guy that I think it's going to be on the rise as far as a future title holder that's not a champion right now. I'm looking at those are so him. DDP, I know he's not the current heavyweight champion right now, but I think by end of the year he will be the interim. Tom Aspinall will be the full-fledged heavyweight champion. I think I don't know if he'll fight John Jones. I think whether Jones comes back and fights Stipe, they both either retire, but I don't think I'm not too sure that I think my prediction would be that Tommy Aspinall is just the heavyweight champion by the end of the year. There is no interim. He's the heavyweight champion that they're going to make him the champ.
Man, listen, you hit the nail on the head with that one. Of course, we talked about it last week where a lot of us who are fight fans were excited to see anything with John Jones in it. We got like the teaser, you know what I'm saying? It's like
we got like a minute.
We got the chicken wings. You get the plate. You get like the 6-piece wing.
Yeah,
ready for the steak and potatoes. We wanted the steak and potatoes, which would have been, John Jones and Stipe, 2 GOATs going at it. But I've read this. Hey, what's going on, man? Back at it Binge podcast. Anybody who knows anything about sports and physiology and your body, like those those muscle from bone tears are really, really hard to come back from. So, I don't want to talk about John Jones and ring rust, of course, but he's proven that he can come back at heavyweight and put on a show. So I'm thinking, and then the same thing, Stipe's injury is something that takes 6 to 8 months too. So, and then you gotta prepare for a fight after that. So I think Dana White's gonna have to make some executive decisions and say, hey, look, we're gonna make it Tom Aspinall, the champ, regular champ, whatever, and then but we still want to see John Jones and Stipe. I don't care what anybody says. We just want.
I think that we may get that fight at the end of the year, but I think they both lay the gloves down, and then it's just Tom Aspinall's fight. That's it.
Yeah, that. And to me, you said it, bro. That makes a lot of sense. I don't think there's too much more for John Jones to accomplish, not unless he wants to fight Francis Ngannou, for a mega pay-per-view or something like that. Like, there's nothing else to top, the idea of Stipe and Jones right there, bro.
And I guess we'll technically get in January too. We'll automatically get a women's bantamweight champion, whether it's Raquel Pennington or Maria Buena Silva. They're supposed to fight. That's a vacant, for the vacant women's bantamweight title that Amanda Nunes left vacant when she retired. So we'll already get a new champ there. Let me ask you this. If you could make just the best fight, if you could, I'm giving you the pin, any weight class, who is, a couple fights that you would just be like, hey, I just want to see these guys fight.
Just want to see them go at it.
Yeah. This is the fight I want to see in 2024.
Listen, we mentioned it, and I'll just throw this out there easily. To me, if not the interim, but if like the number one contender fight would happen with Shavkat and anybody, and then Shavkat wins, and if it's a Leon Shavkat fight, that's one I would want to see somewhere down on the back end. Definitely in my mind, when we talk about heavyweights, we've already seen Pavlovich. We've already seen like somebody that always comes up somewhere towards the end that I like, kind of sort of, but just he always seems to get just taken out at the wrong time. Curtis Blades is right there in my mind. If like he's outside of that 4, 5, like that 5, 6, 7 range, but you can't take him out of 10. You know what I'm saying? So Curtis Blades, I'd love to see him take on Pavlovich or something like that. Do a co-main. Not necessarily.
Well, he got knocked out by Sergey.
I know, but that's run it back.
I'd like to see him, and I think we're getting him and Jalton Almeida. I like him and Jalton Almeida. That we're getting that fight. That fight's already booked. Right. A fight I'd like to see with, I'm gonna go to bantamweight here, and that's Corey Sandhagen versus Sugar Sean. If Corey can win one more and get that title fight, I think that would be a fun fight to see. I also want to see, in the lightweight division, I would love to see my guy Rafael Fiziev to get back in there. I'd like to see him and Dustin Poirier fight. I wouldn't even mind seeing, Islam versus Gaethje if we can get that one. But I think those would be some fun fights. And then the middleweight division, I want to see the rise of Bo Nickel. He's got a fight booked, but I just want to continue to see this rise of Bo Nickel. And, a fight that was made, Brendan Allen versus Marvin Vettori. I'd like to see Brendan Allen kind of step up and, see how far he can go with a guy like Jared Cannonier or somebody like that.
Listen, man, you really stole one of my answers because, we in the fight world, we saw Bo Nickel dominate college wrestling. And then we saw him like, I'm coming to the UFC. It's going to happen. Then we saw him fight for like 45 seconds and pretty much destroy. Yeah,
he hasn't been out of the first round in any of his fights, really,
Yeah, so Bo Nickel, that's a really great one. This is a recency bias, but I like to see Khalil Roundtree, who did really well last month, do a little something. Maybe you throw him out there. Not too high, maybe like Magomed Ankalaev. He's pretty tough. That'd be a nice little competition right there. We're going further down. Somebody that of course is always out here wondering what he's going to do next. Why nobody's giving him some respect? But of course, he's going through some stuff right now. I seen in UFC on the Twitter. My man Chimaev, Khamzat Chimaev. You know what I'm saying? Alhamdulillah, that's my guy right there. He's always somehow right there on the edge of like nobody wants to fight him, but he's also not proving anything against somebody worth it to be a title contender. Is this the year Khamzat fights somebody up top? And
is this the year he can get to the title? That's a good question, because I was just I was actually on TikTok making I somehow was talking about Khamzat. 3 years ago in 2000, when they first went to Fight Island, he was the star. Remember, he fought like twice in 7 days or something like that. It was something wild.
I want to say he fought like 3 times in 2 months or 3 times.
Yeah, it was something wild, right? And he was just murking dudes real quick. And you're like, man, they were boosting this kid. And Dana White still boosts this kid. Any interview, it seems like I listen to him, he's always talking about Khamzat. But the problem is he's been very inactive. He's only gotten about 1 fight a year, and now he's hurt. He's sick. Is this it? But 3 years. My point was 3 years ago, you would have thought by now he would have been maybe a double champ, welterweight and middleweight champ.
Sure.
And now he's neither. He's kind of in this. Well, he's not even ranked in the welterweight, and he's ranked in the middleweights. And he hasn't even ever fought a middleweight. He only fought Kamaru Usman at 185, and we all know Usman's a 170. And there's the storyline for 2024 is what weight class is Kamaru going to be? Going to be in? I think, to me, let me ask you this way: what's the storyline for you that you're going to look out for in 2024?
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much brought it up right there. And I got two. Really, it's two. Where does Leon Edwards go as a champion? Is he going? As we stand now, he's really on that streak, or one of those powerful streaks where he's setting himself up as some of the best have ever to do it. You know what I mean? Will he take on tougher competition? Because I am not talking down on Colby Covington. But
it's okay. Kobe didn't do nothing. It's like, no. I will say this too about Leon. Like that wasn't Leon's fault. That's the UFC's fault. Right. UFC put Kobe in there.
Yeah, UFC put Kobe in there, and it kind of dulled me out. But if we can get Kobe, if we can get Leon, to have better competition and maybe put on one of these fights, and it might be Shavkat. It's a possibility. You know what I'm saying? I forgot. We just were talking about somebody coming out of retirement as a possibility. But
Jorge.
Yeah, I mean, of course you're not gonna throw Masvidal in there, right there.
If Masvidal comes back and he wins one or two, they got that beef, the
prior to beef, right?
Yeah. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Leon's always wanted to get that back. Who knows if Jorge, he's unretired, and I know he's under contract with the UFC, but maybe they can work out something. And we talked about it on a previous show, him and Mike Perry and the old bare knuckles.
Right. And listen, when this is an MMA show, so we got to include that. BKFC is really doing some things with this matchmaking right now. So in the sense of where it could go if he's out here working. I seen a picture. I don't know if it was a recent picture, but him and Uriel Romero out there looking svelte. First of all, let me tell you something. I don't know what supplements Uriel Romero's on at age 52, but I want to look like that in my dreams. Like, I promise you, I want to be 50 something and look like Uriel Romero. Okay, because for some odd reason he's not fighting anybody. But he's in shape. He probably could beat the crap.
Oh, he's always in shape. He's always jacked.
Definitely. So if he that's a possibility when we're thinking about Jorge coming back. But I'm really interested in what goes on with Leon Edwards as a champ. He's tackled some issues. He kind of battled his demons with the head kick, dead shot, bang. But from there, where is the next person that is really challenging to his throne? And I want to see what goes on with that one.
Yeah, I got two. It's kind of blunt. I got two storylines just in MMA as a whole. My first storyline is, what's the UFC going to do with some of these aging stars, a la Conor McGregor? Like, we know we're getting Conor back. Is it going to be multiple fights this year? Is it going to be just the one fight? What happens if he loses to Mike Chandler? You know what I mean? Like, is that John Jones and Stipe? What happens there? Are we going to get that fight? And then what happens afterwards? And then you can even add Nate Diaz. Like, is Nate Diaz going to come back to UFC? These aging stars that kind of help build the UFC to what it is today. And now now they're all under this one, they're the ones that kind of made this what it is. And now you got other new stars, Leon and Shavkat and Islam and those guys, Sean O'Malley. But what are they going to do with these aging? Where are these aging stars going to go? And I'm interested to see this PFL Bellator, reunion or a merger, and just kind of see where it goes and what happens, here.
Listen, man, that was, we talked about it in depth about maybe 2-3 weeks ago, and it's huge to think that one of the main things that we as fight fans have to look forward to is a merger of brands. How will they put it together? When will the speculated, champ versus champ, Bellator versus PFL happen? Because, although these aren't some of the marquee names that we may not, that the general public may not know, a lot of these guys are in these gyms with champs from the UFC. They're training every day. And this is something that I think will put the stamp on 2024 for like, okay, we're on notice now. We gotta pay attention to that. So I'm glad you brought that up. And then of course, what's up with Arman Sarukian? Like, when we gonna see? We're gonna see Arman Sarukian again. Like, yeah. I mean, he shook Bobby Green out of his shoes, messed him up, for his fight. But when we're going to see the Sarukian Green fight, that's got to be somewhere.
That's not going to happen. Bobby Green lost, the Sarukian won. Arman's on the bigger things.
I just want to see it just because, like, it just, every once in a while you got to have those just because fight, Sarukian and Green somewhere like in June or July. When nothing's too much going on, like just throw it in there for UFC Fight Night co-main event. I'd love to see that though.
I think I'd like to see Sarukian and DP fight, but I don't know if we're gonna get. That's another guy that I just like. Dustin Poirier. We didn't see him at all. We saw him one time this year, and we didn't see him. He got knocked out. We didn't see him since. So and he keeps saying he wants to fight. Well, fight Arman Sarukian. I think that would be a perfect fight for him. Because unless he's just waiting for something, I don't know. He kind of called out Nate Diaz and then said that's not happening. So. I don't really know. I would like to see him and Arman fight at UFC 300, and that's kind of a title eliminator fight. If DP loses that one, man, it would be tough. You're entering a bad territory for a guy that's really fun to watch and been around the UFC, and we've seen him kind of grow up in our eyes. Like this is a guy who was just a featherweight just not too long ago. But yeah, I mean it'll be interesting to see what happens. Hey, well, I also wanted to ask you. We start off the show with a little history, but yesterday was the Robbie Lawler Carlos Condit fight. I mean, we talked about it just via Twitter. Like, man, those fights, those two guys were in some absolute wars together against each other, and just it seemed like to me, Robbie every time he fought was in a war.
Mm-hmm. And listen, man, Carlos Condit, another one of those. Like when I saw the footage, I was like, bro, what happened to bro? Like we're really, because he had that. Like I remember those interviews. They used to do those UFC interviews on like FX and stuff, and it was before the Man Show, and it was like Carlos Condit gave off that real axe murderer like body in the basement type vibe, because he was always, I'm going to fight, and I'm training hard, but I don't really remember what happened with Carlos Condit's career, like following this fight with Robbie Lawler, and I'm interested. So something that I want everybody who watches the show to do, like put in the comments, like what happened to some of your, like somebody that you watch fight that we don't know where they're at right now. Carlos Condit. Everybody heard me talk about Robbie Lawler. Carlos Condit was another one where, his MMA style was real. I think like it was like karate and wrestling. You know what I'm saying? So he had a real unorthodox style, a lot of stand-up, real head kick. Like one of those guys I remember like really going crazy with the shin kicks. You know what I'm saying? Going real lower body kicks and stuff like that. So if anybody can pull up some info on Robbie Lawler, tell him I'm looking for him, man. Tell him
I just looked it up because he hasn't fought. And this is how long ago it was. Well, after the Robbie Lawler fight, he just went on an absolute losing. He went on a skid. So he lost to, and it's not like he was losing to bums. We lost to a lot of up and comers at that point in time. I mean, he did lose to Damian Maia. And then he lost to Neil Magny in a unanimous decision. Alex Oliveira by submission. Michael Chiesa by submission. But then he had a 2-fight winning streak. He beat Court McGee, Matt Brown, and then he fought His last fight was way back July 10th, 2021 against Max Griffin. And he lost that one. But so I mean he is 40 something years old with, so
yeah, he might be out.
It's time to hang it up. But I mean, he was at one time, he was a bad dude, and who was fighting, had some title fights, was the WEC champion, and then got into the UFC. Remember, he beat Nick Diaz. He beat Nick Diaz for the welterweight strap, UFC 143, way back in 2012. Then he fought GSP, lost to GSP.
GSP, man. Shout out to George.
Yeah, I mean that's the GOAT to me. I mean GSP's him and Jones, and then had some wins, and then got the Robbie Lawler fight and lost that close split decision. I mean, if you go back and watch that fight, it was a lot of fun. And after, I think you get in those wars like that though, that just changes you. You know what I mean? Roy McDonald, the guy, just was never the same after some of those wars. I mean, look at Tony Ferguson too. Like you get in some wars and they just change you. They just never.
Man. You're completely right about this. And one thing I left out, about when we're saying, some of the interesting storylines of 2024, and we got to talk about the boogeyman. We got to talk about Alex Pereira. What is Alex going to do? Is he going to become triple champ? Maybe, because he did threaten putting on some more weight.
I don't think so. I think Alex loves to troll just like everybody else. So
anything is possible when it comes to this man, in my opinion.
It is.
But right now, who's going to step up at heavyweight, light heavy, to challenge him? And
that's a fight we'll see. Is him and the former champion. His name's now Jamal Hill. Sweet dream.
Jamal Hill. And I'm not gonna talk bad about Jamal Hill, but
I think in the back end of that'll be the second quarter of 24, probably, and maybe even the third or fourth quarter, because he tore his Achilles in like July, and usually takes he's no Aaron Rodgers, so he's not. So it'll take some time. I think we could see him on UFC. Maybe that Connor fight, Connor card, or maybe even later, maybe the next pay-per-view after that or so.
And just like you said, man, so really the storyline, not just focusing on Alex Pereira, but what's going to happen with that heavyweight, that light heavyweight situation right there. Who's going to end up stepping up or going down, and then Jamal Hill returns. So that means somebody's got to go down a little bit, and Jamal Hill's got to be risen up, because right now it's a possibility that, like you said, the first thing that gets thrown in his wake, as far as who's going to win, it'll be Jamal Hill, and then we'll have to see after that. Shout out to Yuri Prohaska too. Of course.
He's fighting Rakic. So we'll see if the winner of that could eventually be right there for the title.
Mm-hmm. Go right back up for it. And what I'm saying. And old man, every year, no matter what's going on, old man Glover Teixeira somehow, some way. I don't know if you know as much about. Of course you do. I'm talking about our fans. I don't know if y'all know, man, but I swear I was playing like the first UFC game with Glover Teixeira. That's how long it's been. But
it's been a while. I mean, he's not fighting anymore, but he's in the corner of Alex. So
yeah. Like it always reminds me of like when you see those guys still rear their ugly heads. He's one of them somewhere around there. Like the close to Glover Teixeira's still in that division. Wreaking havoc, man. But definitely light heavyweight. We got to pay some attention to it to see what's going to go on at 2024, bro.
Yeah. Well, you got anything else to add before we get up out of here?
Oh man, hey, check this out. So, LTS has been gracious enough to offer me the opportunity to help host the In the Hoop basketball show. We just did our first episode last week. Had a bunch of fun with Big Mike, Bobby G, Uncle Bill, and we're probably going to go back on later on this week. So make sure you keep your eyes open for that on the LTS network of shows. And then, keep your eyes open for me and Jay. We're going to do a little post college national championship conversation. We're not going to necessarily do a show, probably just going to keep it 20-30 minutes and recover from everything. And then back on Headkicks and Haymakers, man. So I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I'll be back with the boys on the LTS show tomorrow night. We'll break down. We'll talk a little preview the college football championship game, Michigan and Bama. Or not Michigan and Bama, but we'll talk about the past game, and then we'll talk about Michigan and Washington. And then we'll break down week 19 NFL, right? There's 19.
Put your predictions for who's going to win in the comments. Are you going for the Huskies? Are you going for the Wolverines? Even though this is an MMA show, we talk about everything behind the scenes. Yeah. We want to know who you're going for. So if you're with Michigan, let us know. You want to see what happens with Will Penix Jr., Big Penix energy. Put it in the comments, man, right here for Headkicks and Haymakers.
No doubt. And then we'll be back next week. We finally got some fights next Saturday, so we'll preview that card and more, and any other MMA. Talk about any other MMA news that happens throughout the week. For my guy Whit, I'm Bodkins. It's been another great episode of Headkicks and Haymakers. Be a friend, tell a friend, folks. Like, subscribe, share. We appreciate y'all tuning in, all the comments, and everybody checking us out. We will see you next week, next Wednesday, probably about the same time, 8 Central, 9 Eastern. So we'll see you then, folks.
What did Cam Newton say? One pinky, one finger, one thumb.
I don't know. God dang it. Cam lost me, man. Cam lost me.